Hi, Martin here with another video looking at getting started with OpenInsight 10, and I've got some good news for you today. This is going to be hands-on. We're going to be creating stuff in OpenInsight 10. Today's lesson is all about creating an application entry form, and I'll run the one that I use for my contact manager at Revelation. So initially when it runs up, because I've got the username and password embedded in the shortcut, I get the OI logo and then we're straight into the application. And this is just a pretty window with some licensing information, and I'm asking the users to confirm that they're the registered licensee, and if they are, click the button and then it goes away and it's loading the data tables behind the scenes for me. That's what this progress bar is doing. So the form that we're going to create is going to be similar to this, except we're not going to have the progress bar bit. We'll just do the basic form. Yeah, that's it. So follow along. I'll take it relatively slowly, but not too slowly, because obviously I don't want to be taking too much time. Right, let's close this down and we will run up our evaluation of OpenInsight. So if we do OK, that will bring us into the interface. Now you could be in the forms designer, you might still have that MP test 1 form on the screen. You might have the start form on the screen. It doesn't really matter. Make sure you've got your system monitor running, and we will go to either File, New, Form, or from the Start window, the Start form here, we can do the same, New, and we want to have a Windows form. And the Windows forms that are available to us is a non-data bound form, a data bound form which is associated with an OpenInsight or multi-value or SQL table, whatever database you're working with, and we will use that option in a future video. It could be a dialog box, or it could be an MDI frame. An MDI frame is another one that we'll be looking at a little bit later. For now, it's just a straightforward form with no database association. So we select that option and click OK. And OpenInsight will present us with a basic form. Now we want to make some changes, but let's just have a look at the interface for the moment. We're in the Forms Designer, so at the top we're on a single page, so the pagination is grayed out. If we were multi-page, we'd be able to scroll through the pages and see the individual pages. We've got a test run button where we can test run the form. So if we click that, it's going to prompt us for a name of our form. So I'm going to call this app entry and OK. And then that will simply test run the form for us. And it appeared off the side of the screen, which was a bit rubbish, but we can sort that out in a moment. The red button here is the ability to stop the test run if you want to. And then we've got some buttons over here that do different things, such as editing the menu for the form, doing your tab through the form, the tab process, finding entities and things. Now most of these are grayed out because we have nothing on the form. Now the whole of the OI10 IDE is fully dynamic, so as you change things in OI, the interface itself will change. So if we were to drop controls on here, or as we drop controls on here, you'll start to see these buttons coming to life. We've got the output button, the output panel at the bottom, which is telling us what's going on. So we just did the test run, so we got a compilation successful. So compilation of that form. On the left hand side, I've got my toolbox with all of the tools that are available to us within OpenInsight 10. And on the right hand side, I've got my properties, events, and the repository window. And the panel that we're going to be on for the majority of this lesson is going to be the properties panel. Okay, so under properties panel, let's change a few things in here. Now this is just an entry window, so we don't need to worry about having status line or anything else. But untitled for the text is a bit rubbish. So we'll change this to OI10 tutorial application, and this is clinic. I mean, you could just have clinic, you can put in here whatever you want. The tooltip is useful if you've got a window that is going to be coming up and asking for some information. The tooltip's not really going to work in here because this is a welcome screen. It's pretty obvious what it is, so we're not going to put anything in there right now. Coming down to layout, I'm going to set the width to 850. I want this quite wide, and we'll set the height to 350. These might need to be moved around a little bit. Initial position as designed, because we're top left hand corner in the designer, that's why it appeared sort of top left hand side on my screen. I'm going to change that to center of the desktop because I always want that to appear in the middle of my user's screen. The page count is 1, so we'll leave that alone as well, and pretty much the rest I'm happy with. The only thing that would be nice in here would be to add an icon. Now for the icon, we actually need to go and grab an icon file. So we will open up, just bring this onto the right screen. We'll go to where all of our icons are on our USB drive. So images, back into icon experience, and we've got icons there as before. I'm going to open up a different file explorer. And on this file explorer, we will navigate to where our OpenInsight is installed. The clinic folder, images, and in here I've got a new folder called Forms Images, and I've already created a very crude logo. It's a bit rubbish, took me about 30 seconds to do, but it's going to suffice for what we're doing. But I want an icon, so back to my image library, and the one that we want is going to be hospital. So we will copy and paste that. Now there's no different sizes, you've just got one size for icons. Let's just go back to the images, icon images, PNG, and this time under 128 in shadow I'm going to want an image called keys. So we'll copy and paste that into there. And I think those are all of the images that we're going to use within the application. Now I've got 3 images to save into OpenInsight. So we'll go File, New, Entity, and Image Components. These are all going to be PNGs. This is exactly as I did in the previous lesson. And so we're going to go to Form Images, and we'll have the logo. And I'm just going to leave that as clinic logo at the moment. I'm not going to put any other information in there. So we go File and Save. MP underscore PNG underscore. Now I could have form in there. That will bring all of my form images together. I might actually do that for this one. So we go OK. We then need to do the other image, which is the keys. Now this one is going to be 128, I think it was. Let's just double check. Properties. Don't know what I did there. Click onto that one. Properties, details, so it's 128. Yep, we're good there. So 128 keys. This time we'll do a save as, because if we do a save it's going to overwrite the clinic logo. If we do a save as, then we're prompted, so we go MP PNG, and that's saved our keys. And then we want to change, I can't actually change the class here, we're on PNG only. So if we come out of here, Start, New, Image Components, and this time we want icon image, and we will navigate to our hospital icon. It's in the right location. We'll do a file, save, and this one is going to be MP underscore ICO for icon, and I don't need to worry about the size, so that will do fine. OK, that. And I've got my images in OpenInsight that we're going to use during this lesson. I'll close this window down now. Let's just make the actually I'm going to make the IDE full screen so we can see more of the properties. I can bring this right over now. And for the window, I should have in here the property for icon, and we'll choose the entity icon hospital and click OK. We now get that icon appear, and I tend to suffer a little bit with OCD, as the kids will tell you, and I like to actually move my wording just over by 1 pixel. I think it just makes the spacing a little bit nicer, but you can do whatever you want to do. Now, the other thing I'm going to do in here is I don't want to have all of the buttons showing. So I don't want them to be able to maximize it. I don't want them to be able to minimize it. You can also look at the frame size, so you could set it to none and fixed, etc, etc. I'll actually set mine to fixed, I think. You can show a help button. I don't need that to be showing. And there's also, I can't remember what it is now, there's an option in here that I found the other day where you can actually fix the window so that the users can't change it. I'm still getting my head around all of these properties. There's so many in here. Doesn't really matter because disabling those two buttons does it for me. So if we now test run the form, then you can see that all we can do is click on a button or close the window. So I'm quite happy with that, and we'll just leave that at that for now. Okay, on the toolbox, we've got some containers down here. These are great in OpenInsight 10. Containers enable you to nest controls within the panels, so when you move the panel around, it will move all of those controls with you. Now you'll notice that the tab control is specifically not in the containers, and that's because in OI 10 for the moment, and I don't know if it's always going to stay this way, it's not a container. It works the same way as the old tab control used to in OI 9. So the containers that we've got is a group box, a panel, and a simple panel. And for now, we're going to be working with a simple panel. So select it. And if we go across to the form, we can drop that panel on. Now there's a whole load of different keystrokes for managing controls. And I think in the next lesson, actually, no, we'll have a look at that now. Bear with me just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I wasn't actually going to do this, but it makes sense to do this now. This is some information that Carl emailed to me recently with regards to dropping controls on panels and onto forms and things. And I'll leave you to pause the video because it should be fairly self-explanatory on what these things do. But one of the things that we will be doing today quite a bit is dropping controls onto a container. So if you look at these lines here, we're looking at a control and then a click to drop the controls on the individual panels, and then that locks them in. So I'll leave this for you to pause and you can have a look through, and then you've got all of the different keystrokes that you might need to use. Don't need to save that. Okay, back to OpenInsight, and we've dropped our panel onto the form. Now we can drag the panel around. We can resize it with the handles, so up and down, left and right. Now when I'm doing these videos, there tends to be a bit of a lag, so forgive me. I'm probably going to be using the property panel more to control things, and in some respects I tend to find the property panel quite useful. So the first thing we're to do is we're going to change the name. Now I prefix all my controls, in this instance P and L for panel, and this is going to be panel main. And the only thing that I need to do in here really is to worry about the sizing. So I'm going to set left to 0, that one to 0, and that puts it up into the top left hand corner, and we'll have 850 wide and we'll have 350 deep. And that's basically given me a panel that I'm going to drop all of the other controls on. Now that's probably a little bit overkill. In this one I could have just put all of the controls on the form, but if I wanted to copy these groups of controls and drop it into another form, maybe with a status line at the bottom or something, then I'd be able to if I put everything onto a panel. So that's our basic main panel. Now from there we're going to grab another panel, another simple panel. We're going to bring it across and we're going to control and click to drop that onto that particular panel. That means that it's nestled and contained within our main one. So we'll go up and we'll change the name. So it's panel underscore. This one's going to be our header. I don't need to worry about all of these different properties, and I'm not going to go through all of them individually because we'll be here all day. A lot of them are self-explanatory, a lot of them are all documented, and we'll be visiting a lot of these as we go through these tutorials. So things that we need to change. The text. So I'm going to have OI10 tutorial. Clinic. I can't talk and type at the same time today. OI10 tutorial clinic application. We'll change that to a capital T. I'm not going to worry about too much about my spelling. If it's wrong, it's wrong. That looks pretty bland as it is, but we can get to that at the moment. So again, we're going to have that 0 and 0 as far as left is concerned, which puts it up into that top left hand corner. The width we'll set to 850, so it's going to go right the way across our form, and the height we'll have as 50. Okay, now the background color I want to change, and we're going to have that as slate grey. So if we just come down to slate grey, that one there, and the gradient style, I'm not going to have any gradient style, it's just going to be straight the way across. So we'll click OK. The text is now a bit strange, so let's have a look at that first of all. The font, we'll change that to semi-light, and I think we'll make that a little bit bigger. We'll make that 18. It's not a great color on there, so what we'll do is we'll go to 4 color and we'll change that to white smoke. Now at the top here, what I can do is I can go W, 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 and it will go to all of the W's in the list. It gets the one I want, I can click it. That was just a keyboard press. So that's okay. Now my text is across the middle, and remember I'm going to have some other graphics here. So let's set the origin of the text. Now this is an X and Y, and I think if we try 510, then that's moved that across, possibly a little bit close to the edge for my liking. So let's take the 500 back to 490. I think that's okay. We'll leave that one as it is. So that gives us our header. Now we also have got a panel that overlays the header, but what I'm going to do for that is a little bit different. I'm going to drop, just for example reasons, a static control, and I'm going to drop that onto the panel. So again, I'm control and click, and then that gives us a static onto the header, and you can see as I move it, it's embedded in here. So it's actually off the bottom, but it's not drawing onto the bottom panel. Okay, so in here we're going to change this to, I often do them as labels, but this one I'm just going to do as text underscore left top. We don't want any text on this one, so we'll take that off. For left, I want that to be 8 pixels in and 24 pixels from the top. I'm going to have a width of 270, and I'm going to have a height of 50. We don't want it to auto size or anything like that, but we do want to put a border on it. So if I come down to border, we're going to have a 1 pixel border with a radius of, let's say, 10, and I want the border to be top, left and right, and I want the rounded corners to be on the top corners. Okay, so if we do okay, I think actually I also would okay to that. I also want to make my translucency, see at the moment it's totally grey. I'm going to make my translucency 50, so I get a bleed through of the blue underneath, which has changed the colour. Now I could have gone away and picked that colour, but for the moment I'm quite happy just to do it with translucency. Okay, so that's that panel done. We then need another simple panel, which this time we're going to drop onto the panel main. So make sure we're on the panel main, control and click, and we want it to be over in this region. I'm going to use the property panel again. So this is going to be panel underscore left MDI blue, and we want that to be 0 on the left. The top we want to be 52, so it just brings it down underneath here. The width, I think we want to be, let's say, 290, and the height will go 296. That's fine. The background colour we want to be slate blue. I'll just come down to the is it slate blue? No, slate grey I think we'll go for. So we'll okay that. That's a bit dark, so we'll change the translucency on that to 50. Yeah, that's better. That's quite a nice colour. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a gap at the top here, so if we just inch that up a couple of clicks, then I think we are pretty good on that. Okay, right, so the next thing that we want to do is we'll put another panel, and this panel will go, so we've got a simple panel. This one's going to be left bottom, but I want to nest it inside this bottom panel, so go control and click. Now we've got that panel there. This one we'll call panel underscore left bottom, and for the properties we'll have this as 8 pixels in. We'll have the top at -14, the width 270, the height 300, and we'll have translucency set to 50, and we need to set some borders. So the border will have as 1 pixel, the radius is going to be 10, and we'll have a top, left, right, bottom, and we'll have the bottom left and bottom right. Let's see how that looks. Okay, so the first issue I've got is I'm too deep on the screen, so we'll do the height of 290. Okay, so let's just change that to 200, and we'll just drag that down so it's roughly where we want it. Hopefully that's going to be the right sort of size for me. And I think I've just changed the width by doing that. Okay, it's still in line. Okay, that one was 270. I've got snap to grid on, so I have to be just a tad careful. But what I want to do is get those two lined up. I think they're lined up. We'll worry about that one in a moment. It certainly looks like they're lined up nicely for me. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to drop a logo onto here. So we need a bitmap control. Again, on that panel that we've just created, control, and we'll drop the bitmap on. We're going to call this BMP underscore logo. and we need to size it accordingly. So it's going to be 27 in from the left, 31 from the top. We'll go 216 by 145. Okay, that looks quite nice. For the border, we'll have a single border. This time we'll have a slightly smaller radius, and we'll have edges on all of them, and we'll have the rounded corners on all of them. Okay, so I think that's fine, and we need to go down to the image. It defaults to the default image, so we can click on here, PNG, and we need to come up to where all of our images are, and we want to have the clinic logo one. We'll put that into the center, and we'll just click OK. Okay, we need to make a change there. The style, I think we'll need to make that scale possibly. Let's see what that does. Yeah, that's better. So the image was too big. Remember, I think I made it a 400, but we can actually quite nicely scale images in OpenInsight 10, and that looks quite nice. So I'm quite happy with that for the moment. Okay, the next thing we need is the copyright. So we'll grab a static text control again, control and drop that onto the form, and we'll call this one, because I'm putting text on it, I'm going to label this time, and we'll call this copyright. The text that we want to drop on here, I'm going to actually open up this little window this time because I want to have multiple lines of text. So we're going to have copyright 2018 in there. We'll then have Revelation Software Limited, and we'll come down again and we'll have London, United Kingdom. That will do, I think. Put a full stop after that. We'll have a space, and then we'll have the phone number +44. Oh, fingers. Okay, so we'll do OK to that. Okay, that doesn't sit very nicely, so left we'll go 10. For the top we'll go 187, 250 and 104. And bear in mind that the all of these calculations are all relevant to the panel that we're on. So it already looks like we're off the bottom of the panel, so we'll play with that in a moment. The text align, I'm going to change that to centered. That's a little bit better. And I'm actually going to change the translucency on this to 100 because we just want the color underneath to bleed through. And in actual fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the control, shift and arrow up, and I'm just going to jump these controls up. Now I can click both and I can jump up with those as well to wherever I want to put them. And it looks like I'm actually going to need to make my form a little bit deeper, so I'll make it a little bit deeper. We'll grab this panel and we'll make that a tad deeper. We'll also grab, okay, that, I think we're good for that at the moment, and we'll just, yeah, I think I'm okay with that for the minute. So the next thing that we want to do is to drop on a hyperlink. So it's a hyperlink control, and we need to make sure that we drop that onto this panel, not onto the copyright one that we just did. So we'll control and we'll click at the side. And it's slightly off, so we'll shift and just move that up, and then we will change this to hyp_mdp_email. The text in here is going to be, I'm going to just use my email address. for no good reason. Aligning it, we'll align it as 66 to bring it more central. I think that's more central. If it isn't, we can have a play around with that in a moment. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to size this using my button, and I want to get it sort of more in the middle. So just what I could do in here for this is a little trick. If I move that across to the side and to the side, because I want this centralized, and then we'll go text align. Instead of being top left, we'll go centered, and then that will actually put the text where I want it. Let's change the translucency to 100% so we get the color bleed through, and I'm just going to move this up a tad just so it looks a little bit better. Okay, so that's our hyperlink control on there. Which is going to need some code on it. So if we go across to the events, and on the click event, when the user clicks, we're going to want to launch their email client. I've got some code that I've just copied in. So this is going to send an email using the text from the hyperlink control. So it's going to get the property from the control. I'm just going to copy that as a precaution. The address is going to be mailed to an email address, and then we're going to call utility runwin to start our default email client. So if we do a compile, then you'll see at the bottom the syntax check has been successful, and then we can save and close. Now I just want to make sure that I've called it correctly, so I'm just going to do a paste in there and make sure that the name of the controller is the same as the name in the code. And we're going to leave the hot colors the same. Now if we test run this, then as we come over the hypertext without any code on a mouse over, we get some red text. We can change that if we want to, but I'm happy with the red. And then when we click that, OpenInsight will go away and it will launch our copy of Outlook, and it will then send the email. I'm not going to do that for the moment because my email is running up. Okay, well, it's run up fairly quickly. Sometimes Outlook can be a bit fussy on my machine. As you can see, we're now not responding. I'm not sure why it does that, but Outlook does when it launches very often. But it's launched Outlook, it's dropped the email address in that we required, and it's just used my standard signature on there. So let's just come out of there. Okay, just close the program, cancel out of there, yeah, whatever. Okay, that will give me some grief the next time I need to run up Outlook. I know we did a Windows 10 update recently, and I'm just having enormous problems with Outlook right now. Hopefully won't be into another restore of it. I get fed up with doing those. Okay, so I'm relatively happy with the left hand side now. So the next thing we'll do is we'll start looking at the right hand side. So the first thing I'm going to do is close down the test run. We'll grab another simple panel and we'll drop that onto our panel main, so this grey area here, and we will call this one panel underscore controls. We don't need any text or anything, so left we'll go 300, the top 148 I think, and that does not look correct straight away. So what I'm actually going to do is to just drag that up. Remember, I've resized the window, so what I was expecting some of these to be, they now aren't. So this is a panel for the controls that I want to fill the whole of this area. And if I just click over here, you can see I'm just slightly high, so we'll just move this around with the arrow keys. I think I'm relatively happy with that. I think that will do. We can move it around if we want to, but all this is going to do is it's going to group the next lot of controls on this particular form, on this particular panel, I should say. Right, so what we need to do next is to drop some controls on here. So we'll go with another panel, which we will drop onto the panel controls, and this is going to be called panel underscore controls, I think. Or was that the one I just did? Losing my way. Okay, if you try and add a controller on that's already named, then you're going to get told, whoa, you can't do that. So let's just, okay, validation doesn't meet, yes I know, so we'll just delete that one off, and then I'm going to get into assertion failed. See, I've got myself in a mess. I do this all the time. I am a monkey with a gun. So what we'll do is we're going to call this panel right, I think. That's a better description for that one. And then onto that we're going to drop a panel, and this one I do want to call panel controls, and we'll have that as left 300, top 148, we'll have a width of 540, and we'll have a height of 188. We'll see how that one looks in a moment. The back color for this one I want to be white, so that one there, and we don't want a gradient on it, so we'll click OK, and that is far from where I want it to be, so let's just drag that over. Okay, so we'll just drag that one around to wherever we want it, drag it over this way. So sometimes I drag and sometimes use the properties. So for the border, I want to put a single pixel border with a radius of 10, and we want to have all of the sides and all of the corners rounded. So okay, that gives me a little box here, and I don't really want it completely white, so the translucency will change to 25, so we've got a little bit of a bleed through, but it's certainly a lot whiter than it was. I think that will probably do me for now. I'm going to go with another simple, no, I don't want to go with a simple panel. I'm going to go with a static text control, and we're going to drop it onto the right hand panel. And now I want to have it to be left aligned with the panel below. So what I can do is I can click on both of the panels, and on a right mouse click, I've then got the option to align left, right, top, bottom to size equally and all sorts of things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to align it to the left, and I'm also going to size it equally to the maximum width. So that's now the properly aligned left, and it's the same width as the control at the bottom. So we'll click off, click back on it, and we'll just align that. I think we'll have that there, and we'll just drop it down a little bit because the text is going to be quite long on this one. So this is going to be, we'll call this text underscore copyright. Don't think that's what I used before. Okay, and in this one we're going to have a little bit more text in it. So we'll go to the text, open that up, and we'll drop that text in there, and then we'll also, I'm copying and pasting this in from another screen, so it saves me having to type everything in for you to watch me mess up all of my typing all of the time. So we'll just move that over to there. That's fine. So if we do OK, then that gives us a little copyright warning, which I'm quite happy with. Next, we want to have an image, I think. So we go with the bitmap control. Now we want to embed this into this panel. So if we click and right and left mouse click, we get the image dropped on there. We'll go BMP underscore keys. We'll come down to the image, and in this instance we want to have our keys that we created earlier. Where's they gone? There. We'll put that centered, and we're happy for that to clip, I think. No, well, maybe not. What we can do is we can just drop this where we want it. Just get that sized. So I think I'm quite happy with that. And the translucency, I think I want to be 100. Yeah, that's better. How does that look? Yeah, so I've got my keys on there, quite happy with those. Next, we want to add some static text labels. So we'll drop one onto here. Now if I move this across, I can see where the edge of the button is, so we'll align that one there. And I want to have another 2 of these. So we'll go Control C and select the panel and Control and V. Make sure you've got the panel selected, and then you can drop it down. Now if I was to do a Control and V now with that static selected, then I'm actually going to get a button on a button, and it all gets a little bit complicated. So if we and I can't move it down, so if we go to select Control, and we got label 4, 5 and 6 because I haven't rearranged them yet. If you go label 6, and we'll just delete that one because it's 164 pixels to the left, and it's way off. So we'll just delete that one, and we'll make sure that we have got rid of it. So if I put these back in order, then I've just got the 2 labels. So just bear that in mind. You need to make sure that you are on the control that you want to drop the control onto. Okay, so let's just align that one. Now I like my text to be centered, so the text we're going to have as center left in this instance, and I can lasso all of the controls and then just change all of the properties on all of those at the same time. We will then change the label of this one, so I'll call this LBL, and this one's going to be we'll just call this one version, and the text is going to be software version, and we need to make that a little bit wider to accommodate the text. The translucency will make 100% because we don't want it to be a different color grey. And then we want to make the other controls the same. So if we select them all, right mouse click, and to the maximum width, that's good, happy with that. And we will change this one to be LB underscore serial number, and we'll have that as serial number. And this one we'll change to LBL underscore name, and we'll have this as your name. And again, I need both of those to be, actually I'm not going to make those transparent for the moment using the translucency, because what I want to do now is to drop on an edit line. So again, Control and click, and what I'll do is I'll line that up where I want it lined up, drag that across, and we will copy, and we'll paste another one of those on. Just drag that up, and we will paste again and drag that one down. Now I can change these. See, that was helping me to line up because I could see where the edge of the label is. On this one you can't see where the edge of the label is. So now we'll change the translucency on that to 100. If you do get caught on that, then what I tend to do is either set the background color or just set a border, and then you can just turn those on and off as you wish. So now what we would do is normally we would associate this with a data table. For the minute I'm not too worried about that, so I'm going to change this because of my naming conventions, to EDL version. And the text will have, this is going to be version 3 of my application, and it's going to be build 719041 for no real reason. And we're going to make that edit line, in fact we're going to make all of these edit lines, grab them all, we're going to make all of these edit lines read only, so that just grays them out for me. So on the serial number we'll have EDL underscore serial number. The text in here for the serial number is going to be MDP 0001 0510 2602, yeah, whatever I want. I'm just making stuff up. So normally you would pick that from a record within the database, and what I'm actually going to do on these as well to make that even more clear, I'm going to change the foreground color, and we'll change that to one of the grays. What have I got in here? Change that to dark grey. Yeah, that'll do, because you still see it, but it's very clearly something that it's probably a little bit too light, but that'll be fine. EDL name we'd normally pick up from the database as well, but for the moment I'm just going to put my name in here. You get the idea of what we're doing. And then the last thing that we want to do, because this is our form that we then want to launch another form from, is we'll grab a push button, again control and click to drop it onto the form. We'll align it and we'll make it the same width, so max width. And for the button we're going to call this button, we'll call it launch for no real good reason, and confirm you are the registered licensee. So that just makes somebody think, oh, do I want to go into this if I'm not the registered licensee? I'm just going to make the height on that just a little bit bigger, just to emphasize that. I could put images and stuff on there, but I think we're okay. So if I now test run the form, that actually looks quite nice. I'm quite pleased with the layout. Everything lines up. So we'll come out of here. And then what we will need to do is we're going to need to put an event in here, so when we click that it will launch our next form, but we haven't got a form, so we can't do that. So I think we're pretty much wrapped up for this lesson, so we'll just do a quick save. We'll make sure that it compiled. Now on the output window you can see here compiling the clinic window and the click event for the hyperlink, and the compilation was successful. So always make sure that your compilation is successful. If it isn't, you've got a problem, you need to sort it. Anyway, long lesson, just coming up for just under 50 minutes I think by the time I've edited it. So hope you enjoyed it. A little bit more hands-on. Pause the video, take your time and build that window. We'll see you next time. Bye now.